Live from Saturday night.
Live from the interwebs. It's the Cool Kids Table podcast, except not live.
Definitely not live.
Hey there, I'm Matt, co-founder at Helpt.
And I'm David, co-founder at Helpt.
And this is the Cool Kids Table.
This isn't your typical industry podcast. We sit down with MSPs, vendors, and channel pros to swap stories, share real insights, and have a little fun.
You'll get expert takes along with sports debates and some class clown moments. It's part grade school nostalgia and part real talk about what's going on in business.
No scripts, no sales pitches, just a real lunchroom conversation.
So grab your tray and let's hang out at the Cool Kids Table.
All right, welcome to the Cool Kids Table podcast. I am Matt, one of the founders of Helpt, and I am hosting with my co-founder, David.
Hey, everybody. Today, we have special guest Paco Lebron. He is the CEO of MSP Owners Group, the founder and CEO of Prodigy Techs. He's the managing partner and podcast host of MSP Unplugged. Paco, tell us a little bit about all of those things and about yourself.
Yeah, no, that's a mouthful. I appreciate you guys inviting me on here. So Prodigy Techs, MSP that I started back in 2013 here, based in Chicago. Full managed services provider, primarily in the construction and manufacturing space, specifically in the Hispanic sectors. With me as staff, I do have 80% not only women that are employed of the Prodigy Techs brand, but also of Latina descent. So something very proud to have of encouraging and including women into leadership roles and into the IT space. It's been really great to run that for the past, now coming up 13 years. Been a good run. Recently sold a majority stake of Prodigy Techs to a company called MSP Owners Group. That is a holdings company that owns MSP Owners Group, is by a good friend, Juan Fernandez, and co-founder Mike Amiri. And so through that acquisition of Prodigy Techs, I have kind of rose to being CEO of MSP Owners Group. My responsibility now is to help those other MSPs that are looking to find a different exit strategy. For our thing, we purchase a majority stake and keep the owner on, unlike other models for M&A. So that's the IT slash kind of my quote unquote day job. My other business that I've had over the last 10 years, MSP Unplugged. That is a long-term IT MSP slash break fix podcast, and really just trying to understand and sift through the noise of our industry. And then we usually have an annual event called TechCon Unplugged. That's a derivative of our community, kind of assembling together, having a great time, which you all have been gracious to sponsor those events in the past. I can't share the dates officially. I'll give you guys the exclusive. TechCon is returning September 17th to the 19th. It will likely be in the Midwest. Those are the dates. That's who we're sharing. And so more details should be coming out here in the next couple of weeks.
Hot off the presses. Okay, I'm going off script. What you're doing in the community, Latina community, the female-led leadership, I think is amazing. Do you have a really strong female influence in your life? Mom, wife, girlfriend? Like, what got you there?
For me, growing up in a stereotypical Latino household, I am of Puerto Rican descent. In the Latino culture and the community and minority culture, it's always the man has to provide, protect, and it's quote unquote what he says goes, right? And so that's kind of what's really instilled in us when we're young and kind of as we're raised. It just so happened to be my wife, who is unapologetically Latina. And so she is very much the person that has helped open my eyes, because I think we get to a point where it's okay to not be okay, right? And I think there's a great book that I think it's like the 12 Masks of Masculinity that really understands you as a man in general, but also opening the eyes of things that we as men may not understand or may not have believed is an issue of what we do, just the way on how we speak, terms that we use, just even viewpoint and perspectives. These are all things that we take for granted. And so it has allowed me to really open my eyes to be not only an ally, but a platform and also a leader to help other leaders, especially those in the IT space, to grow in that avenue.
That was half of your background, but I think the other half is about how you've been the leader, the CEO, the founder in a variety of areas. You talked about how you started MSP Unplugged, over a decade ago. And I feel like 10, 15 years ago, MSP community wasn't even really an industry. There were people who did IT and everyone kind of did it a different way. Maybe some were subscription models, some were break fix. There wasn't really a community where people had best practices that were shared. There were no areas to learn from your peers. And I think, you were a trailblazer in that area and sort of turning MSP into an industry where people can now go and start their own MSP. And that's because, you took your knowledge and tried to say, hey, let's have a conversation about this. And that's what MSP Unplugged is and what you've done in the last decade since.
Exactly like you said, Matt, like there wasn't a lot of vulnerability and transparency being done, right? You hear a lot of the success stories. We hear a lot of, hey, this is what you got to do. And here's the motivation piece. And here's what you need to be successful, right? And there's a lot of talking at you. And there's not a lot of, I had to hide my car from repossession in my year 3 because I couldn't make the payments. And there's a lot of mental health conversations that go around with that, and just motivation and spiritual. And then all of the pressures that you have, right? Entrepreneurs feel such a big pressure on the amount of things that happen to them, and they tend to internalize it. And there was a time where a lot of people were not comfortable in speaking like that. The hope is that you've just now created another leader from either avoiding or relating to what's going on, and they have the ability to reach out to you.
But let's go back to pimply 16-year-old Paco in high school. Which lunch table were you sitting at? Were you on the football team? Were you an IT guy even back then? Were you going table to table selling your super donuts? I mean, what was 16-year-old Paco doing?
So we definitely had our super donuts, but no, believe it or not, I did not have the entrepreneurial trait until later down the line. At 16, I was really into Magic the Gathering. I think we transitioned into the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know, that was my crew. We were quote unquote nerd. And it's funny because the next year, I ended up joining the wrestling team. For those that watch Stranger Things, I kind of had a Lucas evolution.
So what's in your lunchbox today?
What we got here is a couple of really good goodies. We got our good old goldfish. This is actually sentimental. My daughter used to love these. You cannot have too many honey buns. There's a trick that my brother taught me back in the day. For those that are peanut butter lovers, you put some peanut butter on that bad boy, you got yourself a nice wholesome meal, loosely unwholesome.
Paco, do you have any idea what we're going to do today?
I have no idea what we're going to do. I'm ready for the surprise.
Yes. We're going to do the Cool Kids Table podcast Jeopardy. Which one do you want to start with?
Jock for 300.
MSP Bugle magazine called your story from starting an MSP out of spite to building a community. What was the fight that lit that spite fire, and how'd you turn it into your knockout punch?
Essentially, one of my best friends, best man in my wedding, had started an IT business and printing business at the time. I was helping him. We had a difference of opinions on how the business should be ran. I decided to exit, and then I was greeted with, okay, well, once the money starts rolling in, don't come back crying. So I took it as a challenge, and in spite, started my own IT company to prove that I could make not only the amount of money that he was at, but also more. But again, we were both running break fix businesses. It has since evolved. He was one of my initial mentors in getting into some of the IT stuff. Now we've kind of reversed roles, and now we're learning from each other and growing each other's practices as we speak.
So you remained friends that whole time?
We still remain friends. Let's go with overachiever for 300.
MSP Owners Group is about shared capital, infrastructure, and community without losing identity. What's the hardest part of growing together without creating groupthink?
When we bring someone on, whether it's a staff member, whether it's an MSP, different collaborations, you know, are they the same type of culture as us? Are they believing in the same thing? Are they supporting the community? Do they speak the same language? Whatever the case may be, but did they ruffle our feathers? Did they speak truth? Or did we see through what they were trying to propose as what their really true commitments are? And that's really what has helped us understand and grow together. But I will say that probably there maybe have been some staff members where there had to be some concerted effort, because again, everyone does business differently, right? And it goes back to how do you get on the same page, right? And I think when you get into that position and you go in with an open mind, understanding, hey, we're venturing in this because there are smarter people than us trying to get into this, and now there's personalities and strengths and having the ability to know how to move forward. There are some you have to get out of your own way in order to succeed on what the goals you're trying to do.
That's the hardest part, is when egos get in the way.
Class clown for 500.
Going big, I like it. What's the most MSP owner thing you've ever heard another MSP owner say and immediately knew they were in trouble?
I would have to say the one thing that always sticks with me when I hear that they don't need help, that they have it all under control. And it's usually someone that either I've had a good conversation with and they're spinning all the plates. And it tends to be that, yeah, I got it under control. Layering on top of that is not understanding the value of time. And so their big thing is like, well, yeah, I'd rather just remote into a PC and get my hands on it and take care of it versus, hey, let me automate that piece so that I can have more time for something else, right? There's a give or take on one of those sides. And so that's probably the most MSP owner thing to say, like, man, I'm grinding, I'm doing 90 hours away. And it's They just don't have the foresight to see they can accept a little bit of help. It doesn't diminish what they're trying to do, and it can help them in the long run, just as even down to a mental capacity as well.
I love it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Make sure you're pacing yourself.
When we first started, David and I were the ones taking the calls. And obviously, we could only grow so much that way. There's only so many hours in the day. We couldn't be taking the calls. We try to graduate from working in the business to working on the business. And if you're a small MSP and you're so focused on working in the business, doing the day-to-day, you can't focus on those things that are going to enable you to grow.
There's a very fine line distinction between productivity and activity. If all you're doing is saying, hey, I do 90 hours of activity, and that's because you're remoting in and doing that one ticket, it's not the same as saying, hey, I do 40 plus maybe a few hours a week, but I've got things dialed in so that I can be as efficient and as much activity gets done as possible.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. All right, we'll go ahead and round that out. We'll go with Jock for 500.
What's the most high pressure decision you had to make as an MSP owner where there was no clear right answer?
We were at a position where our lead technician was poached by another bigger MSP. And we had just hired a very junior technician. And so we had to come to the point of, how do we grow now? Like, what is our time for profitability? Do I rebuild this help desk again? Or do I now venture into the world of outsourcing and understanding, how do I make that trial and tribulation? Now, again, there was no clear answer because we never truly, we used to outsource to a white label help desk many, many years ago when it was just myself, but we had built all these processes and procedures for internal technicians and internal help desk. And so what we learned is we just did not have the right processes to provide and augment a white label help desk in procuring that service deliverability for us. And so we did have to kind of run through and understand there were some learning lessons involved in there.
I imagine you've probably had to make a decision like that where you then reverse course and then re-reverse course. When you realize there's no right answer, you need to be willing to change your answer once you realize that the answer you picked is not the most right.
So I'm going to go and do a bonus question here. This question is Klaus Clown for 100. Is cereal a soup?
Cereal is not a soup because milk is not a broth. That's like you guys saying that a hot dog is a sandwich. You're just rage baiting everyone listening in here.
So this is a conversation that we actually had earlier. Do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
No, hot dog is a hot dog.
This is the stuff that we do.
Obviously, this is the source of great debate around here. All right, let's tally up those points. You ended up with 2,600 points. Now we're going to go into our equivalent of Final Jeopardy, the mystery lunchbox question. First, you're going to have to decide which superlative describes you.
We're going to go with most likely to succeed.
Now you have 2,600 points to wager. How many are you going to wager?
Let's throw it all in. The only team to play in a Super Bowl before Neil Armstrong moonwalked and never returned to the big game is the Bears.
Didn't the Bears make it back in the 80s, though?
Oh, I guess that's true.
I think I have my guess in mind, but I want to hear yours.
If I had to guess, let's go with the Jaguars.
I think the Joe Namath Jets were like 1970s, so I think that would have been after the moonwalk. I don't remember if in recent history the Raiders have made it to the Super Bowl, and my thought was they made it to one of those first couple. So my guess is going to be the Raiders.
Here comes the answer.
The Jets. I mentioned them because that was my first thought was the Namath Jets, but I thought it was after the moonwalk.
Well, I mean, when was the moonwalk though?
Wouldn't that have been 69? And the Jets, was I wrong about the year? It was around then. Like Namath was a late 60s, early 70s guy.
That's what I'm thinking. He was hot in the 60s.
It literally was Super Bowl III, January 1969, and it was Jets against the Colts.
There you go.
Disappointed. 0 points for me too.
Yeah, negative points for you because, well, I don't know. Thanks for playing. You have officially survived the lunchroom chaos and earned your seat at the table. Where can people find you?
Easiest way to find me is over on LinkedIn. Look me up, Paco Lebron, or you can head over to MSPUnplugged.com. That's really the best way to find the assets of where I am at, whether that is going to be in person or in audio format. You'll see what I'm up to during those times as well.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. This was really fun.